to get our other Facebook groups in here before it's officially time to go. And let's get it going. There we go. Check marks. Boom, boom. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. It is Thursday morning, December 23rd. It is 8:30 where I am, probably 7:30 where most of you guys are listening. But, it doesn't matter. We got some people in Cambodia, across the globe, across the pond. And Scott's over there in Georgia. Scott, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well this morning. It's starting to feel like Christmas. About 28 degrees in Atlanta, Georgia
Oh my
this morning.
gosh.
It's
That's
it's cold.
crazy.
It's cold. And I actually got the Christmas present, got my wife taken care of. And like
Good.
I joked before, so they say, dads or husbands are really hard to shop for. There's only one thing we want during holidays, only one, to not be in trouble when the holidays are over. If we can get that for Christmas, we're good. That's all we ask for.
Surviving the holidays, huh? That's a big one. Not being in trouble. I mean, I guess it depends on if you're in trouble going into it or not. But yeah, that's a key one. I'll have to put that one on my back.
Anniversaries, birthdays, whatever. And as long as I get out of it without being in trouble for whatever I screwed up, I am happy.
Well, there you go. I got my wife Billie Eilish tickets, so she's really excited about that. She likes to go to concerts and whatnot, so got her too. Hoping a friend of hers will go with, but if I have to go with, I'll go. I,
There you go. Take a friend.
I'm a musician, so I just enjoy a good performer. Just in general, I don't really care what it is. I played violin since I was 4 years old, but I think hopefully she can take somebody else with. And man, what a great day to start off here, pre-Christmas, as we call pre-Christmas Eve, and kicking us off right here. Ethan, so supportive, Ethan. I mean, I don't even know what to say to you at this point because you've been constantly. You were the first person to give a super chat for Scott's channel where we just kicked it off yesterday, first monetized day, and in all these morning shows. And Ethan's been so clutch. And $50 here. I again don't even know what to say other than thank you so much. Morning, gents, and Broncos country. Good morning to you, Ethan. Thank you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. You make the show viable among other people. When this is Chad Jensen's channel, when he goes up and down and looks at it and says, do we keep this? Do we keep this? Do we keep this? It's stuff like this that keeps the show viable. So you keep us running. It's not just the lights on, but you keep us here. So certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. We got US Dave in the house. Hey, people. Desert Creature's in the house. Also, Desert Creature. I think he's got the burrow, the North American burrow owl as his image here. And the North American burrow owl is just named the Owl of the Year. So congrats to you,
Well,
Desert
congrats to
Creature.
the owl.
Yes.
Congrats to the owl.
Well, I mean, he is Desert Creature, so maybe that's him. I don't know. Maybe they're one collective. Clitoris come. Oh my God, I said his name. God bless. Hey Dave, happy holidays. Happy holidays to you, Clee. God, the coffee's still kicking in. Super dude, we got Jeremy coming in. Hey to you, Jeremy. Hope you're doing well. US Dave saying flu season is here. I know this firsthand. Get healthy, Dave. I hope you're feeling better. Sorry to hear that. We have you, Desert Creature, all saying I've been isolated long before. What's going on? I really like that. We also got DBAs in the house. Good morning to y'all. JJ Johnson, good morning, Broncos country. You guys are the best. US Dave, I was going to say peace. That's what I was going to say peace too. That's what one thing a dad wants is peace and quiet. CC's in the house. Morning all. Jeremy, come in at my wife. Nick's married to an 18-year-old apparently. Don't yuck somebody's yums, Jeremy. Some people are big old Drew Lock supporters. I'm trying not to yuck their yums on here.
Because whoever you said, the Billie Irish or somebody,
Billie
I've never
Eilish.
heard of this person.
She's a pretty big deal right now. But it's definitely I would say she's a younger generation. The tickets were not cheap, and my wife likes her, so I'm like, okay, whatever. Happy wife, happy life. If you like her, then God bless. I'll get it for you.
Yeah, I just watched the beginning of Anchorman again. I'm kind of a big deal. I hear big deal, and I always think of that. All right, big deal. Let's go.
We got EJ in the house, also a big deal. Good morning, Nick and Scott and Broncos country. Mike Woodward's in the house. Good morning, everyone. We got Greg Smith, aloha. Melakaliki Maka, I think is the Hawaiian way to say Merry Christmas. So we always got the aloha in here. I'll get you the Hawaiian Christmas. Greg Smith, good morning, Broncos for breakfast.
I'll try the Spanish. I'm not going with Hawaiian. Too many. You know what's funny is when I was driving over in Hawaii with an old navigation, you want to hear something funny, try listen to the nav, try and say these words that are coming up. It was almost like they just gave up. It's like, in 1 mile, turn right on.
It had a stroke. Ernie Mays in the house. Good morning to you, Ernie. Always supporting us, and Ernie's very active in the Facebook groups as well. So appreciate you, Ernie. Happy holidays to you and yours. Also, Ethan over in you said Merry Christmas to Ethan. He's across the pond. Do we say Happy Christmas for him? Is that the correct way to go?
I don't know. Are you allowed to even say Merry Christmas to anybody?
You know what?
So I just say Happy Holidays.
based on what I see on social media, if you won't accept Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas with some of the
Say
vitriol
happy
and
Hanukkah
hatred,
to me. I'm happy for you. I don't care. Whatever. Cheers.
yeah,
Be
be
happy.
merry. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. God. But yeah, no, let's see everybody in here. We got obviously it's Scott and I. It is time for we need to get Chad to give us a banner up here. Broncos for breakfast. You guys can follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I am at Nick Kendall MHH. You can also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. The holidays are upon us, but maybe you get that check from grandma, $25, and you want to say, I'm gonna splurge on myself with this money from grandma. Go to huddleuppod.com to get your swag on, or get it for a family member that you love that's a Bronco fan. Like, listen, Bronco fans, we support the Broncos. Broncos have been disappointing us. Huddle Up, Mile High Huddle never disappoints. So check us out at huddleuppod.com. Support us. Go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Join the communities there, like Ernie's, always on the group. That's how Ernie's joining us today over on those groups. Triple shout out to Ernie there. If you guys are on Apple, iTunes, make sure you're going there and leaving us a 5-star review and a comment to earn a chance for some of that gear over at huddleuppod.com. And we really appreciate that. Number one thing you guys can do, though, besides the contributions, is subscribing, liking, and sharing to this channel on YouTube. Mile High Huddle, go there, click the bell notification. The more eyeballs we can get on this show, the better we can do, the more content we can provide to you guys. And obviously there's a lot of great content creators in this Broncos football bubble, but we like to think that we are doing as good of a job as anybody, bringing levity, community, interaction, and just different perspective than a lot of these other areas. So please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube, and get Mile High Huddle out there. Also, if you guys are over on YouTube, make sure you're checking out Scott's channel. Like I said, yesterday was a monumental occasion because Scott did crack that 1K mark. So we are now doing bigger and better things, continuing going forward over at Scott's channel. Make sure you're following him, though, at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy.
So a couple more people coming in the chat. Travis coming in saying, sorry, no stars till tonight. No problem, Travis. We're happy you're here. Looking to just enjoy the last 3 of the games, and a lot of new coming up. New coaches, new QB, new owners. We shall see. Wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. Yeah, could be a lot of turnover. Personally, I think the owners thing is a little bit overrated when it comes to the overall well-being of your team. I don't know. I might be naive in that, but to me, it comes down to general manager, coaches, and how well they do their jobs. And I think you've got the one good piece in place with the general manager, and you could be looking at upgrades down the line from there.
Yeah, I think for Broncos country specifically, the owner is really important, and we put a lot of value on the owner because we did have one of the best owners in football for a long time in Pat Bowlen, and there's just been a void at that position in that leadership since he's been gone. And you can't
See,
win without
I
him, but
say
he's
that
gone.
knowing what it was like growing up with Rankin Smith as the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, who was one of those just cashing check guys. Draft, let the guys. I'm not going to pay the players to go; they can go, and we're going to be 6-10 our whole times. Now I almost think like the family ownership stuff, the single person, the personalities, like a thing of the past. It's almost like the corporations are coming in now, and they're basically just a $1 billion asset on part of a spreadsheet. And it really matters who's there day to day. So I feel better knowing that George Payton is there than it worries me that who's coming in for the ownership. But again, even the Atlanta Braves, who are under Liberty Media, and they've been complaining about Liberty Media forever. They've once they got the right people in place in the front office and the right strategy involved, they got back onto a winning track too.
Yeah, it's important. And the big thing for me with the ownership situation is it just makes this timeline kind of jumbled. With the ownership instability going on there, with potentially a coaching change happening. If I was going into that coaching staff, what could you actually promise me besides dollar bills that I could understand?
Well, that's the big one.
Yeah, that's the big one for sure.
That's the big one.
But
Got in the roster, and a chance to win.
Yeah,
you have a good roster. Do you have the ability to invest in the team, invest in me? Okay, let's talk.
If I was a head coach, though, I would want some creative control and some allegiances and promises of what I can say and do. And if you have a Jerry Jones owner come in that could be taken away quickly. And that would make me just a little bit, obviously, there's still only 32 positions, but let's say I'm Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach. There's going to be plenty of interest for him. Maybe I'm not as interested in Denver because of that situation. So I did see yesterday that Mike Kliss, I'm not going to say anything disparaging about anybody in the Denver media, but Mike Kliss is definitely connected to the Denver front office, and he doesn't say anything that he probably shouldn't most of the time. But he said that, hey, Broncos didn't have any Pro Bowlers. We'll get to that, guys. Maybe we should even be more impressed by the job Vic Fangio has done this season, which is, yep, which 100% reads to me as hey, guys, start preparing yourself because there is a very real possibility that Vic Fangio is back next year, which I'm not 100% against. I'm not for either. I think some people are very we're binary, angry or in love, that kind of thing. I think there's some nuance there, but still, now that Mike Kliss is saying something like that, you have to think like, there might be some legs to Vic Fangio being back.
Y'all have heard me say it before. When the local media starts taking shots, it's over because they don't have to worry about protecting that relationship anymore. They've been given the green light from the higher ups that these guys are out. When they start saying stuff like that, now. Yep. You don't know because now it's a little bit of ass kissing,
Yep.
Pardon my language. But Dom Hamarito coming in. So good morning, fellas. Happy holidays, boys. Happy holidays to all my Broncos family. Let's get this W against the Raiders. Would be the best Christmas present if we could beat the Raiders in their stadium. Up the Raiders. Yeah, that's probably not up the Chels. Up the Chels. I feel you, Dom. We got it's Sunday, right? Boxing Day is when all the games are. So have a nice Christmas off for the most part, and who's going out and box? With Boxing Day, everybody used to go back. The busiest day of the year is the day after Christmas. Not for football fans on a Sunday. Golly, I know where we're going to be. Well, I know where I'm going to be at 12:30 because that's when Chelsea kicks off on Boxing Day.
Oh, there you go, man. I know it's a big deal for the Premier League over there. We got Kayla, also a big deal in here, coming in. Good morning. Happy holidays, everyone. Kayla also says she's an HR worker. We just say happy holidays because they have diverse employees, but she's all for Merry Christmas. That's good to hear. Michael Ronquillo in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Go Michael. Good to see you. It's great to see you in here. Happy holidays to you. Dave is in the house. He says, heart, it's lock time. Well, hopefully that lock isn't rusted and you have a key to it because last time Drew Lock headed off to the Las Vegas to play the Raiders, he had probably his worst game of his career. I don't know, man. That Chargers game this year, given the small sample size and like what a bad showing that was in the small sample size, that might be in my opinion, the worst game of his career. I mean, 2 turnovers in one half was pretty darn bad. But last time Drew Lock went to Las Vegas, 4 interceptions. I think almost all 4 of them in the first half too. 3 of them, I think, in the first half. So it was a very bad game. I know that Lock is this going to be a big game for him, not only for the Broncos this season, but for the rest of his career. And hopefully he can rectify the last time he went to Las Vegas, going up against a terrible Raiders defense last year and putting up a unfortunate performance.
So Las Vegas came into Denver and won pretty handily.
Yeah. Yep,
right. They won pretty handily. So why would that change? Well, I go back and I look at the box score, and it almost looks like if you take the Drew Lock detractors, or shoot, even the fans for that matter, what are you going to get? It says, well, it'll be more exciting, because you'll get the bigger plays, you might get the turnovers. Now, if you just look at the box score and you don't know the context amongst those plays, you look at 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Unfortunately, those interceptions came before the touchdowns, and the touchdowns came as you were trying to play catch up. But if you look at that context and you say, all right, this is very well what we could expect from Drew Lock, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. What do we do to make sure we win it this time? And if you remember that game, everything was long. Derek Carr had about 340 yards on about 17 completions. It was insane. Yeah. His average per attempt was double what Teddy's was. It was like 12 and a half. So can you limit the big plays from the Raiders? Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
you can. If you scheme not to just sell out to stop the run, this team is better in the secondary now. You can stop the big play. Can you stop their running game? Yeah, I think you can. So I think last game, when we talk about, y'all have heard me say a zillion times, the common denominator for most of these losses have been you've gotten beaten in the trenches. That wasn't the case in this one. This one was a little different. So I think this game was the anomaly. and I think it can be fixed. I hesitate to. I feel like the last time, other than Detroit, the last 5 times I've said the Broncos are going to win, they haven't, and I feel awfully bit. But last game was the anomaly. They came in and were beating the Broncos deep on big plays over and over. We probably haven't seen that many big plays against the Broncos the rest of the season combined.
Yeah, no, that one was bad. I think it was like historically bad, actually, from the Broncos defense. I think Derek Carr and that Raiders offense had the most 15-plus yard pass completions in a game that we've seen since like 1987 or something, like just something absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
And Henry Ruggs had the big ones. They pretty much took out Darren Waller, but Edwards, Zay Jones, and Henry Ruggs did a lot of work. And Derek Carr was playing good football that game. I mean, his EPA per play when they had Henry Ruggs was 0.143. But since then, he's kind of fallen off a cliff with Henry Ruggs going out. And Derek Carr kind of has a tendency to fade as the year goes on. Maybe it's injuries. Maybe it's the colder weather. But since then, yeah, let me pull up his, where's he at? Okay. Yeah, his play has fallen drastically with the EPA, with the yards per attempt, and Henry Ruggs has been out. So hopefully Broncos can get after it and play a better game. I mean, there's multiple things where the Raiders had an incredible game against the Broncos that was an anomaly that we haven't seen all year. Max Crosby had 3 sacks in that game. I think he has 4 on the season and hasn't had a sack since then. Looked like an all-pro player, and just haven't seen it since then.
So, Nick, I kind of want to follow the lead of the chat here.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about here is Pro Bowlers who could have and should have made it here in the chat. We've got an hour.
Yeah.
We're only 15 minutes in, so let's follow the lead of the chat here, and let's get to who should have, could have, maybe should have made it, maybe shouldn't have made it, etc. for a few minutes, and then we'll focus on the Raiders a little more if that's okay with you.
That sounds good. I'll let you look on the back end too if there's any supers or stars or anything like that. I know it's the end of the holiday season, but of course we appreciate that. And if you guys do that, we will get to you. But yeah, the Broncos, this is just an indictment on Denver being a team that is somewhat of an afterthought right now, especially in the AFC West. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case. I mean, Vegas, the Raiders moving to Vegas, that has a lot of splash, hoopla, et cetera, et cetera. Chargers going to Los Angeles with Justin Herbert, arguably the best young quarterback in football. They're going to get a lot of eyeballs, a lot of media attention. And then, of course, the Chiefs. I mean, everybody's been tripping over themselves with the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, rightfully so. So it's a big bummer the Broncos didn't make the Pro Bowl. I think the Pro Bowl is kind of stupid. It's overall, the voting is not very good. I don't know what the solution would be to that because it is somewhat of a popularity contest. You have to have multiple good seasons to build up that goodwill. And even if you're having a mediocre season, if you had good seasons previously, you can get voted up. Garrett Bowles, there's a name for you, who's a first alternate at left tackle. He's not a first alternate left tackle Pro Bowl season this year, but he's had some good years in the past.
Tackles, offensive tackle.
Yeah. Yep.
So tackle.
Yeah, that which is
again, I was going to say the same thing, and Jeremy kind of says it here. Javonte splits reps. Most Surtain and Javonte are rookies. Reputations play a big part. I agree, and I was going to reference Bowles for you, and you just did. Because I had started before that news came out. I was in the chat. I was like, listen, it's either you're on a winning team, a winning team, and or you've got the reputation to do it. The old saying in Major League Baseball, which was much more statistics driven, especially compared to defense, guys on defense, was you usually get the all-star nod the year after you deserve it. And maybe you get a couple of them 2 years after you don't. Garrett Bowles, as I think he's been fine, but is he the 4th best offensive tackle in the AFC this year? I don't think so. No. And maybe he is, because to be honest, I don't watch the other 16 teams to say, okay, he should be 4th. It doesn't feel that way to me. It doesn't feel like he's playing at that type of level. So maybe he is. My gut tells me, and my gut is probably right, that's a reputation type pick. And when it was coming up against Surtain, I had mentioned that Pro Football Focus doesn't particularly like him. They've got him rated in the 60s. Well, they've also got Trevon Diggs rated like 89th out of 117. He's leading the league in interception. I bet Trevon Diggs was on that list. And they had made a pretty strong push recently for AJ Terrell, which makes sense because they've got AJ Terrell number 1. Now you want everybody else to, when you're in the rankings business, you love it when they get awards and recognition because it helps validate your rankings.
Yeah.
Well, the number 1 running back and the number one cornerback on Pro Football Focus. Neither one of them made the Pro Bowl. That's Cordero Patterson and AJ Terrell. So there's a lot of things that go into it. Having the marketing and hype and previous performance. The rookie that I know that did make it was the two of them that I know that made it. Kyle Pitts came in uber hyped, and he's been good. He's got the second most reception yards in the NFC for tight ends, even though he plays 75% of his snaps at receiver. And Micah Parsons, who's putting up the numbers, the eye-popping type of numbers that he could actually get Defensive Player of the Year, let alone being, just a Rookie of the Year. So you either have to have the built-in name that you've earned through the years, or you have to have some eye-popping numbers that really grab everybody's attention.
And it doesn't hurt that Micah Parsons plays for Dallas, where every single chance, Jerry Jones, winks at somebody and you have a 20-minute news segment on ESPN about it. So that does not hurt either. The brand matters. And unfortunately, we've seen it with Denver for a while. I even think Joe Burrow was talking about it this last offseason about how some place like Denver gets continually snubbed for the Hall of Fame and stuff like that because they're not a media darling, so to speak. Obviously, when you have John Elway and Peyton Manning, you would think you'd have a little bit more attention than they have, especially with the amount of fans that Denver has across the globe, but just hasn't been the case. But we got Miguel coming in here. Happy holidays to you, Miguel. Good morning, fellas. I don't know why, but I really feel better about Locke starting this week. I care more about all pros and Pro Bowls, and Simmons got snubbed big time. Irritating. Yeah, Justin Simmons was definitely the biggest snub. He's had a good season this year, and I think one thing that makes Simmons' season even better, obviously they have a lot of good players in the secondary for the Broncos, but this Broncos team is probably a bottom 10 defensive line team across the NFL this year, and they also are not playing with many leads. And when you have a good pass rush or you're playing with a lead pretty consistently, that's when the stats tick up for the safety position. And it's not very complimentary or conducive for Justin Simmons to make splash play after splash play because opposing offenses, we saw with the Bengals this last week, they played uber conservative. If we just don't turn the ball over, we're going to win this game. And they bet right because the Broncos were not able to get a pass rush on him and they weren't able to get a lead. So Justin Simmons, the fact that he's made as many plays on the ball as he has with the limited sample size has been outstanding. This has been one of Simmons' better seasons, in my opinion. And to get snubbed is a big disappointment for him.
And
Hopefully,
Nick, that's a great shout about the lack of production on those splash plays because you're not. If you force the other team into comebacks where you get up a big lead and they have to they call it becoming obvious in those situations, your ends are going to get more sacks, your defensive backs are going to get more interceptions. Instead, it's basically a base offense, run, pass, run, pass, run, for the whole game. And that's an indictment on the offense and the style of play that the Denver Broncos employ. That's a great shout. And Miguel, appreciate the stars, man.
Yeah,
cheers.
thank you.
Happy holidays to you and yours.
Yeah, Justin Simmons, he's maybe not the best safety in football. Like if there was a redraft right now for safeties, I'm taking Derwin James number 1, just because I think he's the most talented and diverse safety that you can have out there, even with the injuries. But after that, I'm having a hard time picking. Maybe Minkah Fitzpatrick then. Derwin James, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then Justin Simmons. So he definitely got snubbed. Maybe he's not the Ed Reed of safeties out there, but I think that's partially also the game coming on right now. Teams have become so turnover diverse. Most teams have become so turnover adverse that you're not seeing these lollipop throws where the safety is coming down with it consistently.
Who flashes for the Broncos on defense? Honestly, if you're just watching from 1,000, we're 5,000 feet, as it so may be.
Y'all 22, if you will. And Kevin Byard, great call, Tommy. Yep, he's the best safety in football, 100%. But he has a pretty good defensive line in front of him. Anyway, you're gonna say Surtain.
No, I'm not actually, because if he's doing his job, he's not getting targeted, right? Kareem Jackson, is the one that shows up when you're just kind of watching the game because he plays like his hair's on fire.
Yeah.
He goes around and so when you're talking about the splash plays for this type of defense and the type of games that the Broncos are in, it's really Kareem Jackson.
Yeah.
That you notice out there that is out there making plays, and unfortunately sometimes on the wrong end of those plays, but he probably is a little more, I don't know if he plays at a different speed, maybe probably conducive to some of his injuries considering his size. but he's the one that flashes on a consistent basis for good or for better or for worse. And Joe coming in with the big super this morning says, hey, Scott, congratulations on the 1,000 subscribers. Thanks, man. Like I've said a bunch of times, couldn't have done it without the support of Broncos country for sure. So special place in my heart right here next to this Chelsea badge for Broncos country and the Mile High Huddle family. So I don't think any of the Broncos have enough production this year to get a Pro Bowl. Simmons gave up a 50-yard TD last week, kind of unacceptable for his spot. Everybody, if you look at Trevon Diggs, he's given up almost 900 yards in receiving, but he makes the highlight plays too. I really like Nick's point in that you're not necessarily, and your point here also, you're not necessarily getting the production because you're playing a bend but don't break type of defense, and then your offense isn't good enough to the receivers who could be Pro Bowl caliber to get the ball enough to make the type of plays. And then with the split between the two guys with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, you might have two Pro Bowl backs. If you decided to go 75% to one and 25% of the other, one of those guys would have made it. That would have been nice. And I like looking down the career years and seeing who's got the asterisk on Pro Football Reference for who's made the Pro Bowl and who hasn't. And he's a 4-time Pro Bowler. I do like that. I can't remember the last time I watched the game. So for me, it's a label that I think is very important, and there's bonuses, so it's important to the players as well. But as far as the game, I don't necessarily want the wear and tear on these guys, but I think Javonte Williams is a Pro Bowl caliber running back without a doubt. And if that was your goal to get him in the Pro Bowl, I think you probably could have.
Yeah, and I think it's also Javonte Williams has been very good, and he's going to be very good through the rest of his rookie contract. But the AFC is pretty stacked at running back right now. I mean, would I put Javonte Williams over a healthy Derrick Henry? No. Jonathan Taylor's in the MVP conversation. Nick Chubb is, for my money, the best running back in football right now. And Joe Mixon's had a hell of a year. Maybe you can make an argument Javonte Williams over Joe Mixon, but Joe Mixon just has the volume over Javonte Williams.
And that's it. So, like I said, if you go 75% of the carries and you're sitting at 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns right now, where does that put Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon for that sake?
Both
if not for Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon might be a Pro Bowler. The way the Broncos can run the ball. So again, it's nice, but I'd rather have the two good running backs that are combined for 2,000 yards. To be honest, I'd rather have that and have those two guys still fresh at the end of the season.
And it's good for them long term as well. So yeah, I think Justin Simmons was snubbed. He should have been a Pro Bowl safety. Also, I mean, heck, I hope he wins Walter Payton Man of the Year because I think he would take that over the Pro Bowl, and he's making a strong push for that. So hopefully he can get that. But he was snubbed. I think Patrick Surtain was snubbed too. You said that Kareem Jackson's one who catches your eye. Maybe from the broadcast angle. Watching the All-22 though, it's really hard not to have your eyes on number 2 out there because a guy with his length, his size, playing on the boundary, 21, 22 years old, and sticking in the hip pocket of these guys. I mean, gosh, I know the Broncos like to play a lot of off coverage in the match quarters, but Patrick Surtain in press man is, oh God, bite your knuckle good. I mean,
how many of the people that are deciding on these Pro Bowls are watching the All-22?
Probably not as many as there should be. Yeah, I know, but Surtain has been.
I get your. I think your point is outstanding.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. I just think a lot of times a Pro Bowl isn't. It's there's less time put into the Pro Bowl than there is the college football vote. Yeah. It's like, okay, who won? Okay, yeah, I know that. I recognize that name. I'm going to vote for him. Okay, I remember this guy, and it's again, you can earn it. And then end up getting it for 3 years. You had one good season, and then you've got the name recognition plays a big part into it. And then getting the wins helps too. Getting the wins like Xavier Howard on the Dolphins. He was selected as a corner. If they hadn't won the last 6 in a row, does he get picked again? Maybe because he's been there before. He was an All-Pro guy. Has he had that type of year?
He's got that contract.
But he was there before, so he gets kind of he's. You gotta. It's almost like boxing, If you get a draw, it goes to the champ. You gotta beat the champ. You gotta knock that guy out. So you gotta be that much better than the guy, and it's hard. It's hard to do it in subjective criteria like that.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. Maybe we should just lament and wax poetically about Patrick Surtain for a second because he has been that good this season. Right now, I think if you had to take a young corner to build your team around right now. Probably number 1 is Jalen Ramsey. Even though he's not that young, he is that good, and you know what you're getting because
so he's probably 27 or 28, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's 27. The thing about cornerbacks, and we've seen this just charting football players over the last, gosh, I think they've been really charting since 2012. But cornerbacks, year to year, very volatile. You have good years and you have bad years, and that's just the nature of the position. Some years, even and especially when the margins are so thin, if you have just a slight hamstring injury or a toe injury, that could be enough to tank your season because that's how close these players are.
Or the defensive end on your side has a slight hand injury, or
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. No, you're
you
you're
know,
100% right.
it's so much of it. It's so connected
Yeah.
out there, and that's what makes the true cover guys so special.
Yep.
Um,
But he's been
that can do
incredible.
that.
If let's gun to your head right now. Happy holidays, everyone. If there was a redraft right now and you had to take a cornerback, Surtain have to be maybe 1, 2, or 3. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore has been up and down some. He's really good when he's out there. Tre'Davious White's coming off an injury. The only names that I can think of right now that I could hear an argument for over Surtain in this kind of situation is obviously Jalen Ramsey, like I just said. And the other one would be J.C. Jackson, who's been phenomenal for the Patriots. But
I don't
Surtain's
know
incredible.
enough of the league in order to have that conversation.
Okay.
I know that AJ Terrell has been really good as a second-year guy
Oh,
for the Atlanta
yes.
Falcons.
That's one too.
He's been good. He's just 23 years old,
Yep.
and he's been really good. So if we're talking about top young corners building blocks, I think he's got to be in the conversation. But I don't know enough of the rest of the league to definitively say this is the guy. I wouldn't do that. That'd be dishonest.
J.C. Jackson's probably about to reset the cornerback market with contracts. He's been that good this season. But yeah, you're right. AJ Terrell deserves a shout out there. We got DWI guys talking about shout outs coming in with a second super of the day. Happy holidays to us, stuffing our stockings, making sure we got gifts under the tree. God bless you. With Abram out of an already woeful secondary, is this the week we see a breakout in the air? Back on topic, LOL. It's possible, but I think that the Broncos are going to run a very I don't want to say it's a Tim Tebow-esque offensive style, but they're going to work the offense vertically with deep shots off play action, moving the pocket with play action, bootlegs, high-low reads, and trying to make this game as quarterback independent as possible. They are going to try to run the football until it's very obvious they cannot run the football anymore. Man, these bots are killing me right now. I don't know what's going on.
I'm hoping I don't block somebody else by accident.
Yeah. But you're hoping to see some vertical shots in this game, but I think the Broncos with Pat Sherman and whatnot are hoping that this Broncos run game can be efficient enough that they can take high volume pass plays from Drew Lock out of the equation, because the more I think they probably feel, and I'm concerned as well, really pulling for Drew Lock, but this is just the reality. The higher volume the pass plays with Drew Lock, the more likely you're going to see a mistake that could be a backbreaker. So hopefully,
however, and Ethan, appreciate it as always. And for my gut reaction on this question is yes. And maybe again, I still think the best split with this team is 40 touches for the running backs, 25 throws, 17 completions.
Yep.
What I will say though is you start seeing the average go up, the yards per attempt, the yards per completion. You start getting it out wider to the wide receivers. We've talked about just the impact or lack thereof from Noah Fant. Noah Fant's gonna have a career high in receptions. Yeah. So when I hear the use Noah Fant, I'm like, they're just not getting the ball in places where he is going to be most effective, and his yards per catch has gone way down. He's going to have a career year for receptions. He is being used.
Yeah.
So how is he being used? More of those plays where you get him isolated on a wheel route with a linebacker. Awesome. That was a Teddy throw. Drew Lock can make that throw, no doubt.
Yeah.
More of that type of stuff. I think we'll see more of that because Drew Lock will take more chances with the football.
Yep.
Flat out. He will take more chances with it. And frankly, Denver could use a few more chances with the football right now because they haven't been moving the ball effectively by just playing into an 11-man front.
Yep. I agree with you. There's a fine line to walk. I don't know if hopefully this doesn't offend anyone in here, but you watched How I Met Your Mother, right? We've had conversations.
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
I love that show.
There's the Barney has the crazy hot chart, and it's the same thing with football, right? It's
that wasn't his, but yes. That how much of the crazy are you willing to put up with based on how hot the person is?
Yes, and that's very true for the aggressiveness to turnover propensity, and it's a very fine line to walk. Teddy's unfortunately been in the not aggressive to the point where the turnover is probably you'd rather see more turnovers if he's going to take the shots. Drew Lock is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum where it's like, buddy, you just have to make the easy read. The check down's fine. Can't go broke taking a profit. Protect the gosh darn football. But hopefully we'll see better here, and hopefully Lock has to understand. I hope he understands. If he doesn't understand, it's a maturity question. But this is you are fighting for your chance next season to compete for a starting gig.
Yeah, and not
Maybe
just
it's
with the Broncos.
yes, in the league.
Period.
Yes.
This is, we heard Teddy say after that ridiculous play against the Eagles, you don't want film like that out there. And it was like, what? But Drew, you don't want film like that out there.
No.
You can get away with that in high school when you're just looking at highlights, but you're going to look at the lowlights when I'm going to consider giving somebody a multi-million-dollar contract. And again, over a long period, you're going to see the ups and downs. They're going to be, again, the reason why it's called Steady Teddy isn't necessarily because he doesn't have the mistakes. It's because the peaks and valleys aren't as high and low for the most part over the course of the year. Drews are going to be much more high and low. But in a 3-game sample size, maybe you can get the top without necessarily getting the bottom. We've already seen the bad. We've seen flashes of the good, but we've seen the bad. But in a 3-game sample size where he knows he's going to get the whole game, he doesn't have to look over his shoulder the whole time. Settle in, have some fun. That's what I tell my kids. Baseball is so mental. Tell my kids when I'm coaching them, have some fun. Go have some fun out there. Relax. Let your talent take over. Trust your teammates. And go have some fun. And if he does that, it will be fun. It'll be a lot of fun this weekend.
Yep. Yeah, just don't overthink it. The best players in football, like Tom Brady, how often is Tom Brady hitting kill shots week after week after week? He doesn't, but he runs the offense. He takes what's there, and eventually you accumulate enough of those that it looks good. So that's just, you don't have to be out there making superstar plays, highlights on every play. That's just, if you can run the offense, especially with how bad this Raiders defense is. I can't emphasize enough how bad this Raiders defense has been, especially in the back seven, just atrocious in the back seven. You can win some games and put up some good tape and maybe make yourself some money or a new opportunity down the line, but you cannot keep having the big mistake. You don't play outside of yourself. Take what's there. Terry coming in from Canada, Nick's Coffee Fund. Thank you so much, Terry. We appreciate that. And Jeremy coming in here saying, Nick, if we aren't going to be good, at least let's be interesting. I think I am jaded and maybe very influenced by what I've had to watch with the Iowa Hawkeyes the last few seasons, because let me tell you, Teddy Bridgewater with this Broncos offense has been 100 times more enjoyable to watch than what Iowa has been doing offensively. So it's not even, maybe some of you guys are watching Big 12 or you're watching Alabama or somebody throw it around the lot. Iowa's offense is worse than and even more conservative than what we've seen with Teddy Bridgewater. So I am jaded there.
No, and there's some recency bias in here. I go back and look at the game logs from last year, and before the incident that had Drew Lock benched and whoever the backup was at the time out. You look at the touchdown to interception ratio, and it was like 1-12 in the previous 5 games. The interceptions, you had to have been pulling your hair out in the middle of last season. You had to be,
my God.
just with the way that was going out. So, but now, as Jeremy says, it's 7-7. We're not entering the game. There's 3 games left. We kind of know we're not good. We kind of know we're not good at this point. So to hell with it. Let's go have some fun. Let's see what happens. And if we're throwing it around, we get some eye roll plays. It's not like you're tanking the rest of the season. This isn't a contender. It's not. So roll the dice, man. I'm with you on this part. And plus, I don't want Teddy Bridgewater playing again this year. I don't care if he was playing at a high level. For his sake, I don't want him playing again this year. Flat out.
I agree with you there. Just pivoting on this point real quick. Let's say Drew Lock comes out and he replicates what we saw last year versus the Raiders, where it's a 4-interception game, totally inefficient, throwing in triple coverage down the field, even though there's guys open. Do you think they would start Brett Rippon?
You're 7-8, and I think there would be a chance. Yeah, if he comes out and just is absolutely awful, I think there's a chance. I don't expect that. I mean, it could happen. But yeah, And the other part of this is that listening last night to Zach and Chad, they were saying that basically to boil it down for you, Locke's best chance of playing again would be to lose. I was like, what? They're like, if he wins and there's still something on the line and plays well and wins, or whatever, if they win and there's still something on the line and Teddy's healthy, Vic has said Teddy will be the quarterback. He's going to come back in. But if they lose and basically you're out, you've been eliminated, and Teddy's still questionable, you don't want to risk his health, then Drew would play again. I'm like, that's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? You know, that's not really very incentivizing if you think about that and you believe that. And I'm not saying I don't. It's very possible that your best chance of playing again would be to lose the game. Huh. That's almost as backwards as rewarding losing by giving people a higher draft pick for tanking. So it is possible.
Yeah, I guess it is possible. For me, the biggest thing isn't losing or winning. If the Broncos win this game and it's obvious that Drew Lock was more of a passenger or even detrimental to the win, then that could be a reason why you could see Brett Rippon even in there before Teddy Bridgewater. But I think I don't think win or loss. Quarterback wins isn't a thing for me. Obviously, they have a big impact on the game, but I always need the nuance of what it looks like when the games happen. What is the outcome? Because there are games when the quarterback is obviously not the reason you win. And there are games when the quarterback's obviously the reason you do win. So I don't think the win or loss, unless it's obvious with the quarterback, plays a big impact on that for me. One thing I will say with Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, et cetera, with these games is that we know this about the Chargers. They are the worst run defense in football this season. So I think it would be another good game this upcoming week where you can have somewhat of a quarterback independent game. Now, I say that maybe that's stupid of me to say because we saw Drew Lock in one quarter look absolutely dreadful against the Chargers last time. Maybe that's more on Shermer for not just running the ball every single time, not even giving Drew Lock the opportunity to turn the ball over. But I digress. We have Jeremy coming in saying if we have a week to live, let's at least a Lambo and not a Camry. I think your options are a rusted out Mustang or a Ford Pinto. You know, there's no Lambo in the lot there, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
I was gonna use a very similar example, except with a Mustang. I was a Camaro guy, so I was gonna say like a '68 Camaro with a blower on it. It's got a couple of bad heads. You might run a 10.5 quarter mile, or you might blow your engine all over the place.
Yeah.
Or you could get the 2002 Honda Accord with 100,000 miles on it. That's very reliable and very, it'll get you down there. But yeah, for me, I just shouldn't get in that Camaro too and take my chances on having some fun at this point for sure.
Yeah, that Pinto, do not go up over 60 miles an hour. You don't want to see what it looks like on the highways. It's an in-town car. I want to get back here to the Pro Bowl. A couple guys, we talked about Javonte Williams. We talked about Patrick Surtain, Justin Simmons. Those are all guys that deserved a shout out. Travis Tarbox also deserves a shout out here. Morning, fellas. I'm watching or more or less listening. Have a Merry Christmas. Denver Broncos for life. Happy holidays to you, Travis. I'm starting to get excited for the Citrus Bowl with Kentucky versus Iowa. So I know you are as well, as a big Hawkeye fan. A guy that I've been banging the table for here. There's not enough discussion about him in Broncos media or NFL media in general. And maybe he's not a Pro Bowler, but at least he deserves an honorable mention. Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones has been the only guy on this Broncos defensive line this year that has been a positive player. Everybody else has been either a C or less type of impact player out there. Maybe Jonathan Cooper's been a C plus. He gets a little bit graded on the curve because he was a 7th round pick. But Draymond Jones is still top 10 in pressure rate. And that's without anybody on the line playing synergistically next to him, giving him one-on-ones. He's getting doubled at a high clip, and he's still getting after it. So Draymond Jones deserves a shout-out here. I know that a 3-4 defensive end playing the gap and a half that they're going here. CC, I think CC's my burner sometimes. Him and Zan 21.
No, I was going to say you're talking about a 3-4 end whose job is to hold blockers. It is a blue-collar, boring, non-statistical, incredibly important position, and he's playing it fantastically. But
to be able to get top 10 in pressure rate while you're playing gap and a half for a team that is not doing good on 1st and 2nd down, giving up runs and getting up 3rd and short, not playing with the lead, and he's still getting the pressures at this rate. I mean, that's incredible. You put Draymond Jones on the Chiefs, next to Chris Jones, where they're playing with the lead often. They can be aggressive, and he's getting one-on-ones where he's not having to gap in a half because Steve Spagnuolo likes to blitz. This guy's going to be killing it this season. And so Draymond Jones deserves a shout out. He is so valuable. He's their best player on their front seven, without a doubt. And I'm ready to say pay the man. Even
I was going to say, forget the Pro Bowl. You know who's going to appreciate that? His agent. Yes. His agent's going to appreciate that because he'll be making a ton. And then once the money comes, he'll get more attention too. As crazy as that sounds, I don't think the Denver Broncos know how valuable. I didn't quite say that right. The Denver Broncos know exactly how valuable he is. I don't think they're as worried about him, making a Pro Bowl or whatnot, because they know exactly what they've got in Draymond Jones. That's a great shout. And if you look at both teams, my guess, I haven't looked. I couldn't tell you who the defensive line is. I got a pretty good guess who a couple of them are, but my guess is there's not many 3-4 ends of that bunch. You've got outside linebackers and edge guys that are Von Miller types, outside linebackers in a 3-5 who are defensive ends, and you got true defensive tackles. My guess is you don't have many 3-4 ends.
Yeah. The 3-4 end stuff for me is starting to, the lines are blurred because so many teams play. They're essentially playing 4-2-5 or 3-2-6 kind of variations these days anyway. So you still are getting your chance to be a 3 technique. It's not all this classic, 3-4 base Pittsburgh Steelers looking defense that you used to have out there. But Draymond Jones has been incredible. And maybe, this is me putting cheering for the Broncos before cheering for the player, but maybe it's a good thing that Draymond Jones didn't make the playoffs or didn't make the Pro Bowl, because maybe he's making $1 million less per year on his next contract because of that, and maybe that adds up at the end. But Draymond Jones has been really good. I really hope the Broncos can either get an offense that can play with a lead, so he can pin his ears back more on 3rd and long and obvious pass situations and rack up those. I wouldn't even call it garbage time, just better situational sacks for him, or they can get somebody who's an alpha at the edge with some height, weight, speed that can do some twists and stunts and free up Draymond Jones, or punish teams if they are doubling Draymond in those pass situations, because that you just have not seen that this season at all.
So Tommy coming in said there was a time at the beginning of the season where Scott called Drew the best backup QB in football. Now the world sees what I was saying. Drew's skill set does not lend to backup duties. To be fair, when I think of a backup quarterback, I think of the guy who comes in when the starter is done, when he's injured. Not as a guy who comes in relief in the middle of a game. So when I think of who is the best starting caliber quarterback that is not starting, and when I look across the league at backup guys, Drew's a pretty good option to have as your second guy coming in to start games. I look at some of the players that have come in. We were talking about Teddy Bridgewater coming from Carolina. Let's look at the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold to PJ Walker to Cam Newton. Teddy Bridgewater's played better than all three of those guys. A little closer to home, I look at the Atlanta Falcons. I'd take Drew Lock over Josh Rosen and Felipe Franks. If I look up at the New York Giants, would I take Drew Lock over Jake Fromm right now, or whoever? He may have even been the third option, probably. So when I speak of backups, I don't necessarily mean as a relief pitcher. I mean as your number 2 starter. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. And again, if I say the best backup in the league, I don't know the league well enough to really say if that's true or not, but I don't know anybody off the top of my head who has a better backup quarterback other than, say, let's say somebody like the San Francisco 49ers, who have a starter in waiting type of player.
Yeah. No, I totally get you there. That makes a lot of sense to me as well. I'm really hoping that Drew has a good game, though, man. That would be ideal. I know that if Drew comes in and plays great, there's going to be the people that are screaming, Drew Lock 2022 starter. I can tell you from talking with people that that's very unlikely to happen. Their Broncos are not going to trust a false positive here for Drew Lock's final 3 games, especially because the Raiders and the Chargers defense has been erratic, and the Chiefs might not be playing for anything week 18 because they already have the 1 seed locked up. So we'll see what happens, because the Patriots also play the Bills this week, so maybe even they have that totally locked up. So we'll see, but the Broncos are going to be looking to upgrade this position. What happens over these final 3 games isn't going to impact it. They already have a large enough sample size over the last few seasons to know that they want to upgrade either from these guys.
So you go and you get Drew Lock on a heater, and someone does something stupid and sends you a 1st or 2nd round draft pick for him next year.
Oh God.
I mean, as silly as that sounds, it's no crazier than giving Teddy Bridgewater a 3-year, $66 million contract because he went 4-0 or 5-1 with the New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton and a good New Orleans Saints team. That's how stupid the Carolina Panthers were. And then sending picks for Sam Darnold and picking up his $15 million a year option. You want to talk about how you want to see how not to handle the quarterback position? Go look at Carolina.
God.
You've got it made, comparatively speaking. So you've got Teddy Bridgewater, yeah, but you got him for a song and you got him for 1 year. And the Carolina Panthers went and did something stupid. So never overestimate the power of incompetence when it comes to these people throwing around money. Drew Lock goes on a heater. What if you say he's done? I don't like him. We don't want him. Okay. I'm not saying that's the case, but if he goes on a heater, someone could come at you with an offer that you're like, yes. So the Broncos have everything to gain by Drew Lock succeeding in the next 3 weeks.
I would be shocked if you are able to get anything. If you can get a day 2 pick for him, I will. We should make a bet right now because I think the odds of that are 1 in 1,000. Because I think that teams in general have seen it's not just these last 3 games. It's the entire body work.
It's
also
the college a big if that he goes out and goes 9 touchdowns against 1 interception and a 3-0 record. I mean, that's highly unlikely. But if it happens, then it can't hurt you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think it's just much more likely. Like right now, I think Drew Lock, especially with only having 1 year left of cost control, that hurts him as well as far as the value. I think you are far more likely to go from like a 6th round pick, which I think he'd be worth right now, to a 4th round pick. And man, these bots are killing me today.
Yeah, I just put that one into. Yeah, we'll block that one too. Yeah, but I always say, you've made it when you start getting spammers and haters. So we've had the haters. The spammers are coming in now.
But yeah, no. Some more talk here about. Is there anybody else that you think maybe is worth a Pro Bowl? Or let's pivot here real quick. Let's get to DWI, guys. Most festively dressed Broncos commentator. Here's to you, Nick. This one's for you. God, I did this last year every single December live stream because the Broncos were terrible. And I'm like, okay, I need a bit because otherwise this is just going to be miserable. So I'm like, you know what? Let's get festive. And wore this last year and it was a lot of fun. But no Broncos in this year's Pro Bowl. Anybody besides the ones we've named so far this week that you say, I'm going to buy stock on this guy right now because I think he's going to make the Pro Bowl for the 2022 season?
How about Baron Browning? It's a tough position to make a Pro Bowl, but it's not a bad idea. I think Quinn Miners has the type of cult of personality around him where he might get some attention at a place where nobody gets attention in a second year if he makes that second-year leap. So I'll say those 2 guys.
Yep. Those are 2 pretty good ones. I mean, the big thing is with this team, the quarterback position, right? Like if you can get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson in here, even though Russell Wilson has looked scary bad recently, I don't know what's going on there. I still think his body of work is worth a shot because a few years ago, people were like, oh, Tom Brady's cooked. He's been playing at an MVP level. Oh, Aaron Rodgers was broken after he played the Broncos. He's been the best quarterback in football recently. Patrick Mahomes has been mediocre this season. You're not going to buy stock on Patrick Mahomes if he was available? Hell no.
And Wilson hasn't been as bad as y'all keep making out. He had a great year last year.
He's been bad this season coming off the finger injury, but I am willing to say that's because of the injury and the team kind of falling apart around him. So I'd still buy stock on him. But I digress. These wide receivers, right? Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, both of these guys I think have a very good shot if you are able to improve that quarterback position. Baron Browning's a great shout as well. One here that I think maybe is a very big dark horse for the Broncos that people are writing off, and I think it's maybe rightfully so writing off this season, but not next year. Bradley Chubb could still make some hay. He made the Pro Bowl last year. I think he was actually pretty high in Pro Bowl voting this year, and guys do not overrate how important that draft status is for these guys. Being the 5th overall pick, that carries around. I mean, the fact that Bradley Chubb got votes this year at all is insane because he's not even played. And when he has played, he's had like one good game. But next year he's going to be in a position, maybe he can ascend. He's also going to have that juice where it's the final year of his contract, where we know what happens typically with a guy in the final year of the contract. They're playing up here, and then sometimes they kind of come down here, Shelby Harris, after you get paid. But I think Bradley Chubb is a dark horse as well that you want to consider for that position.
Well, again, I haven't seen the best of Bradley Chubb. This is my first year following the Broncos week to week, and we haven't seen Bradley Chubb this year. No, he was hurt and he come back and he plays. It's like, okay, well, he set the edge really well. Okay, that's nice. Not sending him to the Pro Bowl for that. So let's see. I need to see the next 3 weeks. If we're talking about what's Drew Lock going to show us? Well, what's Bradley Chubb going to show us? His options picked up, so we know he's probably not going anywhere next year, and he's playing for a contract. He can get $100 million next year.
Yep.
If he comes out and plays that way, that's pretty incentivizing, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's the big one for me, Bradley Chubb, and I'm hoping he plays so well in 2022 that the Broncos are forced to tag him. Right, that would be an ideal situation. You do have that in your back pocket, get that 6 year of control, and then you say, okay, Bradley, we love you. We think you're good enough that we can allocate our cap space where you're a top 5 paid edge rusher with that franchise tag, and for the 2023 season. But it hasn't been good enough year to year that we want to see you do it again. And that's when having that franchise tag is maybe not the most fair thing in the NFL.
It's not, but you know what? It's also, when you think about it, it's kind of like Ronald Acuna getting $100 million at 20 years old, and they're saying they're taking advantage of some poor kid from out of the country. It's $100 million.
Yeah.
So a franchise tag for Bradley Chubb be worth $20 million. Now he could make 100, but you're still paying the man $20 million. Let's have a little bit of perspective here.
Yep.
That's money for his kids, his kids' kids, and their kids' kids, and so on and so on. But I asked you that question in the summer. It's like, what do you do? If he goes out and has a great year next year after being so banged up, what kind of gamble is? And you go tag him. I'm like, duh. I didn't even think of that. Because it's so anti-player that you can do that. But yes, obviously, it's made for a guy that has shown injury problems and been inconsistent, and then flashes his contract year. Make him play in another contract year. Absolutely.
I mean, hell, you could even do what the Washington football team has done with Brandon Scherff, which upsets me because I'm a big Brandon Scherff guy. Watching the Iowa Hawkeyes, I actually used to see Brandon Scherff at my local grocery store. I've never seen one person have so much meat in one cart. When I used to see Brandon Scherff out there, he was a monster at Iowa. Oh my God! But he's been playing. This is his second year playing on the franchise tag. And you have that in your back pocket. Now, granted, that's a huge contract for an edge rusher, and that's 100% guaranteed. So maybe that scares you a little bit. You wouldn't do it twice, where it's a little bit more palatable to franchise a guard twice.
If you have the option. You want to get the best out of Bradley Chubb, make him play on a year-to-year contract. Because if he hits the open market, he's not going to get a 1-year deal from somebody. He'll get a multi-year deal.
100%.
Might be less money with a little bit more guaranteed. But it could be the best thing. He comes out of the next 2 years with $40 million in his pocket, and he's, in his 6th season, and has a chance to go get his second contract on the open market after 2 back-to-back big seasons. He'll get paid.
Yeah, 100%.
He's got to prove that he can be out there and be consistent. That's what he's missing right now for sure.
And we got Jeremy coming in here saying, what about Miners for a dark horse? I like Miners for a dark horse as well. I mean, we've literally named every single one of the top 100 picks in Peyton's last class now with that. But Miners has a chance. I'm really curious to see what happens with Miners this offseason.
Is he going to
Miners? I don't think we have mentioned Miners yet. You said Browning.
I said Browning and Miners because I said he has a cult of personality with the big belly for an interior line position in a place where people don't get very much recognition. Unless I said Reisner by mistake, because Reisner and Miners sound the same. But I said Miners.
Okay, well,
good shout, Jeremy. See, we're here.
Miners is a good one. I will say, though, one thing that maybe clouds this a bit for me with Miners is that there might be another learning curve if he transitions to center next year. That is one where I don't know if he's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber center in 2022. I think he could make it at guard, but the center is probably going to be a transition. A lot's going to depend on what they think of Cushenberry and what the plan is for Miners long term. But Miners at guard, I think there's a chance. Miners at center, I need to see it first. You're right. Seeing is believing.
Where I like the fact that he could be a center or a guard is that he'll have the entire offseason to prepare to be a center or a guard for the Denver Broncos. Yep. As opposed to spending January getting ready and playing in the Senior Bowl into February, and then spending February and March getting ready for the combine and but getting ready for his pro days, going on the interview circuit. Now you're into April, then April when he gets drafted, and all of a sudden you show up at OTAs as a rookie, and you're into May already. So he's got January, February, March, April. You got 4 extra months to do nothing but get ready to be a Denver Bronco. And that's not a luxury he had last year. So the learning curve is steep for sure, but they have so much more time to prepare for their jobs into their second year that you should see a leap from him from year 1 to year 2, especially with his background coming out of Wisconsin Whitewater. I'll get this. I got this, Nick. Bye-bye, love face, XYZ.
Online strippers without clothing. Oh, man. That means
That's
that
hard to find on the internet. Thanks for the notice. I would have had no idea.
Wow, there are singles in my area dying to meet me. That's amazing. You know what I'm dying to hear, Scott? Your prediction on this Broncos Raiders game. We obviously this is the last time we're going to talk before that. What is your final score prediction? How does it play out?
I think it's going to be tight because I've changed my mind.
Oh no.
I don't feel good about this one. I would not bet the money line on this one at all. Going in, I was thinking, all right, the Raiders are at home. They're not as bad. Their schedule. Let me take a look. Their schedule took a turn, but they had some bad losses in there too. So you look at them, you say you lost at New York to the Giants. Bleh. You lost to the Bears. Ugh. You lost to Washington at home. Ugh. But you also lost to the Chiefs twice. You lost to the Bengals. So that sounds familiar. But I look at this team and their propensity for their defense and the anomaly factor of you're not going to give up 25 yards of friggin' reception again this year. The defense is going to play better. You already had your big turnover game. So we know that the Broncos can survive that as long as they're not giving up the big plays on defense. So I think it's going to be a little higher scoring. And I feel like it's a 27-24 in that neighborhood for Denver this year, this go round. But I don't like it. I wouldn't bet the money line on this one for nothing. I'll tell you when I feel like this is a good one to bet on. I don't like this game. It's a pick 'em to me.
Yep. 100%. For me, I think that this game is going to be a Broncos win. I picked the Broncos win last week, but I have confidence. I really do not respect this Raiders defense for anything. Derek Carr is doing what Derek Carr does, where he's really kind of falling apart as the season goes along. And I'm looking for the Broncos to try to win this game, similar to how the Raiders won in Denver last time. I want to see some vertical shots from Drew Lock. I think that you need to give these big-bodied wide receivers a chance down the field against this terrible Raiders secondary. I mean, Nate Hobbs has been a really good player for them, a rookie cornerback. He's been impressive. But other than that, I mean, it is bad out there. I think they drafted a rookie safety to Trevor Morig from TCU, who's been, I mean, gosh, Caden Stern's been better than
TCU.
him.
He had some injury concerns, and he was like the number 1 rated safety coming out. Before, let me think about this because I'm looking at some, to your point, talking about the matchups. Why in football are we so married to the idea of a starter? In other sports, you play matchups. If I've got a team, if I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals and I've got a weak secondary and a strong running game, why wouldn't I play a matchup that is more beneficial to attacking the back end of a defense? It happens in every other sport, really, except football, where you say, this is what we do and this is what we're going to do, and then we'll call plays to scheme around it. But if you're really bad in the secondary, Drew Lock's your guy. You'd rather I can still run the ball. Why not? I don't know. I don't quite understand. The more I watch other sports and I see that it's like, okay, we're going to start this guy instead of this guy, you see in baseball all the time, obviously, with, hitters and batters. Basketball is only 5 men, so it's not quite like that, but you see different formations and positional rotation all the time in international football. But in NFL, these are our guys. Well, this guy might be better in this case. It's a little odd to me.
I think, just to add some commentary to this, the lack of practice time that you already have in the NFL. I mean, these coaches are already upset about that.
And the continuity it takes to run offense.
Yes.
So you might run different packages, especially on defense, but the continuity it takes to run offense, because I've seen guys come in and the cadence changes everything.
Yep.
Might be the answer for that too. But the last couple of games, I think Drew Lock's a better matchup.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is the chemistry and the synergy that you need to run even a simple offensive play. I mean, it's really hard. It's a dance, right? It's coordinated. It's what is it? synchronized swimming out there, so to speak, where everybody has to be perfect. And if one guy spins wrong, the whole play can fall apart. So switching different quarterbacks week to week with already so limited practice time and the chemistry between these guys, a lot of coaches I think would feel they are taking away overall. You're going to have a detrimental effect overall on the offense. Now, one thing I personally like, and
I've watched all-star games when you switch quarterbacks and they're even the change in their voice and their snap counts and stuff, and it takes 5 plays to get a playoff. So I think you answered my own question on that one with the lack of practice time and the continuity it takes.
It's tough. I mean, it's hard to.
In this case, you certainly have a week. You can do that in advance. You can change some things up in advance where I can say, okay, I got a matchup I like against the back end of this defense. I'm going to go with a guy that is going to push the ball downfield a little better.
And maybe this is me just being really in the weeds with college football, but I love, and I would definitely use, and I use it in Madden, the 2 quarterback system, but it is the short yardage red zone quarterback versus your drop back passing quarterback. The ability to get a +1 in the run game or a -1 in the run game, whatever way you want to call it, with a quarterback who can run that zone read or an RPO on short yardage situations where that guy's an absolute tank. That is something I'm about. I would do that. And Pokemon analogies last episode, synchronized swimming. You missed it. Falling Sloth, you missed it on Tuesday night. I did a Gilbert Gottfried impersonation, so I'm not going to break that out today. I don't want to ruin anybody's
I made a face on that one, and you thought I was just cringe. I was like, that actually wasn't bad, Nick.
One of my favorite YouTube videos of all time is Gilbert Gottfried reading 50 Shades of Grey. Oh my God, it is hilarious.
I don't know how much I could handle of that.
Oh my, so funny. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. I'm just trying to have fun out here. I know that a lot of people are pretty upset about the Broncos losing. Quarterback stuff's been toxic. I saw somebody the other day saying they stood up and cheered when Teddy Bridgewater was on the stretcher on Twitter. It's like, you're definitely on the naughty list, and I hate you.
You need another hobby.
Yeah.
You need to find other things to do in your life if that's how you feel about a sport and someone getting knocked unconscious and getting carried off. I feel for the human element in this. I'm watching a game yesterday against my team, and the guy has an own goal that benefits my team, and I cringe. It's like, oh, I hate that. I feel so bad for the guys. It's like that's not how I want to win. I don't want to win because Everson Griffin's going nuts. I don't want a competitive advantage because he's having a problem. There's a human element to this thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if your reaction to a player going on a stretcher is to cheer on your own team, it's bad enough against somebody else. Where you do get a competitive advantage, then it's time to reevaluate your priorities.
I mean, hell, that could even be Tyreek Hill out there, who I don't wish anything good for. But if they're coming out injured on the stretcher with the face mask off and gets consciousness in the tunnel, man, even that makes me feel bad because that's a human being. They have hopes, they have dreams, they have feelings. They're all valid. They have people that care about them, even if they've made mistakes in life. So there's a reason I end every show with choose kindness and choose compassion, and especially in the holidays. I mean, just be better. We don't have enough in that world. Be reflective, look inward, and be like, how can I be better and be a positive force in the world? And hopefully we are doing that for you guys because you guys are doing that for me. You really are in the chat. We appreciate you. So, Ethan, we appreciate you.
A little programming note as Ethan comes in to finish us off here saying, great show, gents, Broncos country. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. It'll come a little bit earlier, 5 hours earlier in London than East Coast here. And happy holidays to everyone. Little programming note, Mile High Huddle will be off on Friday and Saturday. We will be back. We'll be on tonight. Chad and Zach will be on tonight, regular time. So 6:20, 6:20, 6:15, 6:20-ish. I'll be in there at about 6 Mountain Time to let you know, hey, we're getting close, or to chat or whatnot. But we will be off on Christmas Eve and Christmas. So everybody enjoy your families. And Nick and I will see you on Monday.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you are following Ashton. Shout out to you. Thanks for podcasting and purging some food poisoning. Feel better. Thank you guys for joining us today. You guys can follow Scott on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at Huddle Up Pod. The mirror stuff on this drives me nuts. Follow us at Mile High Huddle. There it is. Go to huddleuppod.com. Get your swag on. Check out the gear there. Make sure you're on Facebook. If you are on Facebook, join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. If you guys are on iTunes, you're listening after the fact, or you have one in general, do me a big favor this holiday season. Spend 2 minutes, go into iTunes, 5-Minute Huddle Up podcast, go down, leave a 5-star and a comment and review. Say that I sent you. Say Nick wouldn't stop bothering me with his stupid cheer and festive gear to leave a comment. So I'm going to do it so he stops bothering me. Probably won't stop bothering you. But that would do us a heck of a lot of good. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe, like, and share to Huddle Up, Mile High Huddle on YouTube. Hit that bell notification. Put it on your social media saying, hey, these guys, they don't know anything, but they're funny and they seem like okay people. So I'm going to help them out. So we'd appreciate that. Scott, maybe
if I don't know it, I'm going to tell you. The thing is, if I tell you I'm right, it means I'm right. So if we have an argument about like what guy was in what movie, if I tell you I'm sure, don't argue with me. I'm sure, because I'm always going to leave myself out. But when we're talking predicting the future, hell, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to miss most of the time. That's just the way it is. Otherwise, I won't predict the future anymore. It's the only way. The only way to not be wrong is to not try.
Yeah. And we're going to have fun with it either way. I don't think either of us take ourselves too seriously. We're just trying to have fun with it and get better like we all should every single day, especially this time of year. So you guys are great. Thank you so much for everybody who contributed today to the chat, super chats, listening to After the Fact. You guys are awesome. Have an excellent holiday. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, even though that's come and gone. Happy Kwanzaa, winter solstice. God bless you either way. Hopefully the Broncos have a great game this week and get a win, and it's a lot of fun. And we'll see you guys again real soon. Make sure you tune in tonight with Zach and Chad. Choose compassion, choose kindness. Go Broncos.